Hi to all uh, whoever has been seeing this channel. I know my consistency has been very poor in terms of putting new videos at regular intervals, but I would also accept that there is no excuse for it, or I could give some excuses. Maybe I'm repeating this statement right now again, and so let's not talk about why I couldn't post the videos, and let's go straight to today's topic, which I want to discuss. And that would be uh, the observation of the fact that the word divides action, or how the word or a word divides action. So, in the statement, what I'm trying to convey to you, I think that is more important than the meaning of these words. And what I'm trying to convey is a perception, an observation of this fact. And there's a reason I'm calling it a fact, because it happens every day in our lives. So it's not my personal opinion, it's not how I see it, or it's just how it happens in society, in people everywhere. So I really want to point this out, because this is one of the element which is contributing to humans feeling the feeling of time. So there is one time we can see with our senses: the movement of the sun, the stars, the heavens, the movement of an automobile, the movement of a tree as it dances on a beautiful breeze. And so this is an observational time, so as to say. And we also have a feeling of time inside of us. We can feel time. We say, yes, I feel like I've been here half an hour. Yes, I feel like I've been talking for 20 minutes, 50 minutes, whatever. So this feeling of time is also a very important factor. Now, what I'm saying is the labeling of the actions with different words contributes to the creation of this feeling of time in you. And this is the fact I'm hoping that you can observe, or I'm hoping for you to observe, that when you label actions, when you name them, okay, then this naming creates distinction between actions, okay? On the surface, the naming is important, okay? The naming is a form of organization. The naming is important if you want to convey something about this action to someone, okay? If you're working in a team, for example. So, to understand that the name of the action does not necessarily means that the action is that name, okay? The name is only given to any action for convenience, so that the action can be conveyed, so that the action can be expressed in terms of language to someone else, so that it helps in the organization, okay? But over the time, because we have labeled most of our actions, we start to get this feeling that the action and the name of the action are the same. It's a little tricky. I will maybe take a small example. Now, if you would see from morning to evening, if I ask you, give me how is your morning looking every day? And you might start, I wake up, I go to brush my teeth, I take a shower, cook my breakfast, get ready for work. So every specific action has been given a name, okay? But in reality, if you would observe it, if you would wake up and be aware of your action from morning till evening, for example, let's say for one day, then you would see that one action flows into the other. I would repeat it, that one action flows into the other action. So, in the sense of reality, there is no boundary, there is no border, there is no separation between two actions. In reality, one action and the another action is very hard to distinguish, okay? You understand? For example, to say I am reading a book, as long as I'm holding the book and I'm looking at it, and when I close the book and I put it down, I say the action is over. But it's very tricky to say at which instant the action is over. And even though the first action of reading the book is over, another action has already begun, okay? We are hardly, or I could even use the word never, in a state of total non-action. There is always some kind of action going on, okay? So physically, I think it's almost impossible to be in a state of non-action, okay? Your body is moving during the day, even when you're sleeping in the night, the heart is beating, the neurons are working, and the whole system is working. So it's never at rest, okay? The whole universe is always moving, okay? Which is why we say the universe is in time, okay? And we can find relative non-movement or stationary points, relatively, not, but we never see an absolute non-movement in the universe, whether at the atomic scale or whether at the bigger scale of stars, galaxies. Everything is moving, okay? Everything is in time. So even looking from it from that point of view, that because everything is in time, everything is connected to everything else. You understand? Your action of waking up and getting off the bed and is connected to you walking from your room to the bathroom. Okay? Then your action of coming out of the bathroom and start dressing yourself is connected to the action before, which was in the bathroom. Then that action of dressing yourself, getting ready for work, and then leaving for work, then doing your job. So in a way, what I'm trying to say is, can you observe your whole day as one action? If I start to say it from a point of view of a day, okay? Maybe a day is too tough to do straight away. You can start with half an hour, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Can you observe 10 minutes of all your actions that you do during those 10 minutes without naming them? Without saying, I have done this, now this is finished, now I do the next one, now I do the next. Don't name this. Just do whatever you are doing for 10 minutes. Okay? From the beginning of the 10 minutes to the end of the 10 minutes, those 10 minutes you're doing whatever you are supposed to do, let's say. But while doing that, don't name it. Okay? Just observe the actions that are going on and move from one action to the other to the other. If 10 minutes is very small for you, you can do 15 minutes or an hour, okay? But when you don't name them, then you would see that this one action flowing into the other becomes very evident to you. You can easily observe this then. The naming interferes the observation, okay? The naming of the action, first of all, gives the feeling of time, because the name says this action was only till this point, from this point to this point, this was brushing the teeth. From this point to this point, this was taking a shower. So the name divides the actions, gives limits to actions, okay? But if you don't name them, then you would see one action just flows into the other, and then the next one flows into the next one, and the next one flows into the next one. And initially, it could be very difficult because it's our very old habit to name everything, okay? But when you get the grasp of it, when you get the hang of it, okay, when you can actually observe without naming your actions, then you would see it would feel like, let's say you did it for 10 minutes, then those 10 minutes would feel like one action. If you do it for an hour, you will see that even though you have done 10 things during those hours, but the feeling of that, the actual feeling inside would be as if it has been just one action. The moment you feel it is the moment you realize or you actually observe that the words which I use or which everyone uses to name the actions are dividing the actions. And when words are dividing the actions, it gives a feeling of time. Time is change, time is movement. So when you say, I finished first action, now I'm to the second action, now I'm to the third action, now, and you say in 1 hour I did 10 actions. So this 10 different actions is giving you the feeling, or is giving you the essence that as if 10 different things have happened. It means a change has taken place because one thing changed to the second, then second changed to the third. So the feeling of change becomes very strong when you name the actions. So then you also kind of learn that you also contribute to how you feel. You understand? Generally, we think that the what we feel is the result of our interaction with this world. When I interact with the world in a happy way, I feel happy. When the world gives me difficult situations, I feel challenged or sad, whatever. But when you see that your action of naming things or naming your actions is actually giving you the feeling that there is a feeling of time, okay? So it would also clear in your mind that your experience of life is not just dependent on the world outside of you. It's also dependent on how you approach life, if I'm putting it right way. So if you approach life by naming everything, okay, by categorizing everything, by categorizing every action, by naming every action, and at some points, at some instances, it's important as well. As I said before, when you're working in a group, you need to categorize into teams. You need to give tasks to everyone in a nice and fluid way. That's acceptable. But in your own personal life, at home, when you're sitting in a park, when you're having a free day or something like this, could you also try this? Could you also experiment? The reason for the experiment could be that you want to see if there is something else to life. There is the feeling of time in life that very, very, very nicely. Everyone feels time, okay? Now, I'm suggesting that feeling of time is somewhat coming by you naming things or by you labeling your actions, okay? So could we try this just as an experiment, that we don't label our actions, let's say for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever is available to you, and then be aware in those 10 minutes that no labeling is taking place, okay? Initially, you will see that the mind is labeling because the mind has a very strong habit of labeling stuff. It will label, it will categorize, it will do everything, okay? But as you become more aware of this labeling or naming, then you would see the very awareness of this starts to calm this down. The more strongly you are aware that you're labeling stuff, that you are labeling your actions, you're naming your actions, the process of naming will slow down, will calm down. So it all depends on how strongly, how passionately you are observing yourself. And why not to observe ourselves? If we don't take ourselves seriously, then what else will we take seriously, right? So the observation of the self becomes very, very important in this sense that you need to know where you stand. Then only you can plan to move. Okay? So try to do this. Try not to label. Try not to name the action. And then you would see that this process of naming, which doesn't appear to be very important, which doesn't appear to be very significant, it looks like a very simple and natural process that, okay, I'm just naming my actions. I'm just saying I was roaming, now I'm sitting, then I'm dancing, then I'm doing this. Even though it doesn't appear to be a very significant activity done by you, the moment you start observing it, you would see that it is actually a very significant activity, which affects the way you feel life. It's that significant that the way you feel life is affected by this process of naming. There are many factors, but this is one of the factors, that the way you name, when you name stuff, when you name things, specifically your own actions. You can name 2 footballs, you can name your computer games, you can name your books. There it doesn't create a problem. But when you start to name your own experience of life, you say, this much experience of life was brushing the teeth. This much experience of life was enjoying a beautiful pizza. This much experience of life was to have a nice, beautiful dinner with my wife, with my girlfriend, with my loved ones. Then it starts to give you the feeling of time. Then it starts to give you the notion of time, that you feel time then. Okay, you don't just observe it outside the body, outside in the world, you also feel it. So if you actually end up observing your actions, let's say for 10 minutes, with full passion, without naming at all, then you would observe that those 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or half an hour would feel like as if it's one action, as if it was one action. You would not feel the feeling of time during that half an hour. Or the feeling of time would be very weak. I don't know how passionately someone would try it, and if someone would try with real honesty, you do see that you don't feel time. You feel like as if everything has stopped. So it's just an exploration into yourself. It could be an experiment, and exploring yourself must be an experiment, because you're trying it out. Because you only do it when you have come out of the belief that you know yourself, the belief that you have all the answers about yourself. So when someone sees that this is all false, whatever you've been told about yourself is just a story, and what you really are, you really don't know, then naturally the person starts to do some kind of experiments with himself or herself, that, okay, let's see what's the reality of my thoughts. Let's see what's the reality of my consciousness, and different things. So for today, I would just suggest that observe that the naming of processes is creating the feeling of time, or the naming of the processes, the naming of your life, the categorization of your life is a factor which leads to creation of the feeling of time inside of you. So try this, and I'm sure if some of you would try with honesty, with actual passion, then you would see that. Even if you try it for 2 minutes, even if you try it for 5 minutes, and you would see that those 5 minutes, those 2 minutes would become just one action, nothing else. Okay, so this is for today. And again, I would like to apologize a little bit for really slow approach on creation of videos from my side, and I would try to improve this and provide the content more regularly. Giving excuses is no point. I've mentioned it before as well. So I accept the responsibility of being, how do you say, not consistent in my video creation process. So I will try to improve this, and whoever is watching, thanks a lot for watching, and don't be afraid. You are trying to explore yourself, and this is something which shakes us. So don't be afraid, and just do the right thing. Try it out, and then you will see it. So thank you.